Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of my EnderIO tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be going over the basic parts of EnderIO, some of the basic components. Hopefully we'll start getting to the basic machines as well. We might have to go to the next episode to get to some of the more advanced machines and whatnot, some of the things you can make with these components. But for starters, we're just going to jump right into it. There is a lot of stuff with this mod. It doesn't look like a whole lot of stuff, but it adds a whole bunch of different alloyed ingots, it adds a whole bunch of different little machine parts, adds a whole bunch of machines. It also adds a couple different kind of convenience items, and we're going to be going over those in one of the following episodes, most likely. It's going to be in the second one, possibly the third. We'll have to see how many parts this gets divided into, but anywho. So the first thing you're probably going to need is a basic gear. The basic gear is very simple, just a couple cobblestone and a couple sticks in the corner. The basic gear is used for your first item that you're going to probably make, one of the very first machines. If you don't have other machines in your mod pack that generate power, this Stirling generator is probably going to be one of the first things you make, and very simply just need 2 gears. If you again don't have other mods in your mod pack that add wrenches, one of the other things you may want to add is, or want to make rather, is a Yeta wrench. This is the wrench that is specific to EnderIO. You can use it like other wrenches though, so if you have a crescent hammer or if you have some other type of wrench from something like Buildcraft or Industrial Craft, those wrenches will work as well as this wrench will double for Buildcraft and thermal expansion, etc. So you can double up on the wrenches. You can have one wrench and you don't have to make a million of them. So that's the first little item we're going to make. The second item is not one that we're actually going to make, but is one that we have to find. This is silicon. The best way to get silicon is to make yourself a sag mill. We're going to go over how to make one of these later down the road, but I just want to show you how to get this first. You can do this a couple different ways. The easiest way I found is sand to get silicon in the sag mill. Alright, when the sag mill is powered either by the Stirling generator or some other type of MJ or RF, or I think you can power it with EU. I haven't tested that though. I don't have Industrial Craft in this mod pack, so don't hold me to that. But basically what happens is that if you put sand in the sag mill, you'll have a 50% chance. Redstone has an 80% chance. However, this is the redstone block. You can't just put redstone dust into this sag mill and expect to get silicon. It won't work. The other way you can do this again is if you have clay blocks. You have a 40% chance. I found that the best, easiest way to do this if you don't have a pickaxe or something else with Silk Touch is to do sand blocks or clay blocks. So silicon is very, very important for a number of reasons. We'll get over to what we use silicon for in a minute. The next item that we're going to most likely be making is binder composite. Binder composite is very simple. It's gravel, sand, and clay. Actually, not surprisingly different from the grout recipe that Tinker's Construct uses, but just different orientation. And this is going to give you 8 binder composite. Now this is important. We're going to be using this a lot. Alright, there's a reason why it gives you 8. You're going to be making a ton of this. Alright, just warning you ahead of time if you plan on doing this mod. The reason for this is because when you smelt binder composite in a furnace, you're going to get conduit binders. And these conduit binders are used to make a variety of other components. We're going to be going through some of these components later. The next thing we're going to talk about is the basic capacitor. Actually, we're going to be talking about the 3 capacitors right here. The basic capacitor, double layer capacitor, and octatic capacitors. These capacitors are components to other machines that are down over there. The first one is your, as I mentioned, basic capacitor. Very simple to make. Redstone, gold, and some copper. Alright, you can use, I have copper from thermal expansion in here, but you can use copper from Tinker's Construct, Buildcraft, whatever happens to be generating your copper. It's ore dictionaried, you're good. The next one is the double layer capacitor. This is used to make slightly more advanced machines. The basic capacitors are used to make the basic stuff. Double layer are your next level up, and they take two of the basic capacitors, electrical steel, which we'll go through how to make when we get down to that section, and coal powder. You can get coal powder, coal dust, pulverized coal, all of these work. Again, they're all ore dictionaried. They should all function in the recipe. You don't have to worry. Alright, this can be gotten through a number of ways. You can pulverize coal using thermal expansion. You can use the sag mill to crush coal. You can use a whole bunch of other machines. I'm sure that there's stuff in industrial craft you can use to make, coal dust or whatnot. I think they make. So the next one that you will need is an octadic capacitor. This one is the top tier capacitor that you're going to run into. This is going to be used to make the really advanced machines. We'll probably not be using this for a little while in your, in your playthrough, but it's good to know how to make them. These guys are going to use two of the double layer ones, so don't forget the double layers use two of the basics. So if you need, two of these, you're going to need two of those, which means you're going to need four of these. So just keep that in mind if you need to make multiples of these. It's kind of a cumulative recipe. The other thing that we're going to need is vibrant alloy. Again, when we get to that section, we'll take a look at how to make that, and just a big block of glowstone, easy enough to make. Alright, so while these are a little bit more complicated, they take a little bit more resources, you're not going to be making them for a little while. So those are your basic capacitors. The next thing we're going to look at is the alloys. This is probably one of the biggest parts of this mod pack. All of these alloys are the basics for some of the other conduits and machines that we're going to be making later on in this tutorial video. So the first one is the energetic alloy. The energetic alloy is 1 redstone, 1 glowstone dust, 1 gold ingot in an alloy smelter. Alright, and you can also do this, actually, you know what, you can't do this in an induction furnace because this one is 3. If you have an induction furnace from thermal expansion, you will see that some of the recipes that require 2 items are actually doable in here. That's what I'm trying to click on. It's going to take a little while to find this. Hang on a second. And vice versa too. If you have an induction smelter and you have induction smelter recipes, you can use this as an induction smelter. So if you wanted to, you only have to make this. It's up to you. So that's the energetic alloy. Right. Again, I'm not going to go through what these are used for right at this moment because they're used basically for other components that are on the other side of this wall. The vibrant alloy is the next one we're going to look at. The vibrant alloy is actually one of these energetic alloys and an ender pearl. Right. Most of these are going to use a combination of mob drop items like ender pearls, or going to use redstone, or going to use iron or gold. So just be aware of that. Alright, so we have that recipe there for the vibrant alloy. Redstone alloy. You're going to be making quite a bit of this one as well in certain situations. This one is the silicon that we mentioned a little earlier. Let me set the time there. And then just 1 piece of redstone. Alright, some of these recipes use multiple pieces and they look the same, but you will get different outcomes if you put the incorrect amount of items in here. So if it's a 1 to 2 ratio, make sure you're putting in there a 1 to 2 ratio, and I'll explain that when we get down to the conductive iron down there. Okay, so silicon, redstone makes 1 redstone alloy. Then we have electrical steel. This is one of the items that we need to make the Yeta wrench. Excuse me. Alright, as you can see there, we need 3 electrical steel. So if we go back over here for one moment, the electrical steel is 1 iron ingot, 1 silicone, and 1 coal, and you get 1 electrical steel. Not terribly unreasonable, right? The pulsating iron is where it starts to get a little bit more complex, and this ingot is a little bit more towards endgame. This ingot is going to use ender pearls and iron. Now, the reason why I say this is going to be a little bit more towards end game is because of what this pulsating iron is ultimately used for. I can give you a hint. It's this item, these two items right here. Alright, and we'll go over those items in a little bit. Whoops, I forgot I had to make this a little bit longer, so I ran into my machine. The last ingot or alloy that we're going to talk about here is the conductive iron. This is 2 redstone and 1 iron ingot. You have to make sure that these are in these proportions. So if you put, for example, 50 redstone in here, make sure you put in 25 iron. If you put in, 10 redstone, put in 5 iron. Always have that in the correct ratio if you expect to get conductive iron. Alright. So that is the first part of this little tutorial introducing the basic components of EnderIO. I don't want to make these too long, so I'm going to cut this one here. In the next tutorial, we're going to go over the machines that you can make with EnderIO and some of the more advanced uses of these machines and these items. So if you liked this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. There's going to be more tutorials where this came from. Always, I appreciate comments, feedback, always good to have. So let me know what you thought. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.